Hey there, community bankers. Welcome back to the Correspondent podcast from Independent Correspondent Bankers Bank. I'm your host, Madison Kaplinger, marketing specialist for ICBB. Here at ICBB, we observe March as Women in Banking Month. And 3 years ago, for Women in Banking Month, we interviewed the team founding Fortuna Bank, a woman-owned bank in Columbus, Ohio, about the process of starting a bank and the need for women-owned banks. Now, Fortuna Bank has opened its doors, and I brought back CEO Ilaria Rawlins and Chief Lending Officer Michelle Haslinger to give us an update. Michelle is also going to be a speaker at our upcoming Ladies Link event on April 24th in Richmond, Kentucky, so you don't want to miss that. Please welcome Ilaria and Michelle to the podcast. Hey there, community bankers. I'm here with Ilaria Rawlins and Michelle Haslinger from Fortuna Bank. How are you guys doing today?
Fantastic. Thanks.
Great.
How are you?
I'm good. Thank you both for being with us here today. I know we had Ilaria, you and your co-founder Lisa on the podcast a few years ago when you were in the capital raising stage of launching Fortuna Bank. But for those who maybe, didn't listen to that podcast or aren't familiar, just can you both give us a little bit of background on who you are and what you do?
Sure. I'll go ahead and go first. I'm Ilaria Rawlins. I'm the CEO of Fortuna Bank. I've had the privilege of working on this project since really kind of 2021. Prior to that, I'm a career banker, been in the banking industry for about 35 years, mostly in the retail space. And when I say retail, I think about the branches. I was part of a de novo from 2006 to 2014 here in Columbus, Ohio. Ran really the deposit side of the balance sheet, but that's what kind of gave me the idea that I would want to do it again, and that I really appreciated community banking and being much closer to the client. We were acquired in 2014, and I had the opportunity to lead the retail group for a regional that's headquartered out of Cincinnati. That was probably by far the hardest job I've ever had, but it's what gave me the confidence to be able to launch a new bank when Lisa, the co-founder, reached out and asked if that's what I would want to do, if I wanted to help her. So really excited to be where we are today. It's been a lot of fun.
I'm Michelle Haslinger. I'm the Chief Lending Officer for Fortuna Bank, also a career banker. So I started my banking career in 2002. When you walk into the branch and you see those bankers sitting at the desks ready to welcome you or help you with anything that's happening in your life or any products and services that you're looking for, I was kind of the frontline employee back then in 2002. And I've just had a really, really wonderful career. I've from 2002 to now, I've done retail, as Ilaria mentioned. I then moved into business banking for probably 8 years, I think maybe. And then into commercial banking and commercial real estate. And that's really spans across different sized institutions, with my last stint being at a community bank. And that's when I really fell in love with the community bank model and just really how different we deliver to the market and to our clients, and just how we do things differently internally and culturally. And just really fell in love with community banking and knew that I really wanted to be in community banking for the rest of my career. And then got a call from Lisa one day to interview for the CLO position. I started working with women-owned businesses in 2010, so that's always really been a passion for me to educate and kind of walk alongside them in their journey. So it just really was a natural fit.
That's awesome. And I love that, love for community banking really runs throughout both of your stories, because that's a passion of ours at ICBB as well. And Michelle, as you said your last name, I realize our last names are about 2 letters removed from each other.
Oh, isn't that funny?
Yes. I don't know if you get asked to spell yours every time someone needs it.
Yep.
Or if, it's mispronounced about half the time when
of course
someone hasn't heard you say it. I get Kaplinger is correct. Kaplinger, I've gotten Kaplinger.
Yeah.
All the things. Yeah. So last time I spoke to, you, Ilaria and Lisa, you were in the capital raising stage before you got to open your doors. So take us back to that moment. What did you think then that the first year was going to look like?
I think I thought it would be a lot easier because as we were in the middle, and I don't know, maybe I gave this impression when we were in the middle of the capital raise. The capital raise was hard. I mean, it took us, I think we went into the capital raise a little bit cocky. We knew we needed to raise $20 million. I think we thought it would take us 4 or 5 months. It took us a year. And there were so many peaks and valleys throughout it to where you thought, okay, I think we've cleared this hurdle. Now we seem to have momentum going. And then all of a sudden you'd kind of hit a lull of where it was really difficult to bring the dollars in. And so I think we thought once we got past that would be the hard part. And it's not. I mean, the amount of ambiguity that we live in building a bank from the ground up is real. And so when you think the technology is in place, when you think that all of the systems are going to work, when you think that we all as, associates and working towards the same team are working towards the same goal, I think you learn that you're more like a startup than you are like an operating bank. And for a lot of us, that's fun. There's definitely excitement in that space and it feels energizing, but it's also really hard. I mean, there are times we're all looking at each other and we're like, I have no idea where to even find the next answer. And so you just start picking up the phone or reaching out to people that you're hoping will help kind of bring you along the way. We've had some wonderful partnerships with other community banks that have thrown us lifelines when we've had questions, that have given us insights. And to me, that's the beautiful part of being in community banking, is that it's not always about making sure that you're protecting yourself against the competition, but recognizing that we're all here in this space to help the community and to better Main Street. And if we can do so by helping each other, then that's kind of an important avenue for us. And so I definitely I think that it would be a lot smoother in operations than where it was. I think today we're in a significantly better place than we were in January of 2025. And that feels really good. We are just coming off a fantastic February with a lot of momentum. So really looking to continue to drive that growth momentum and engine into 2026.
I'm happy to hear that. And that's fantastic. And I love that you were able to reach out to other community banks and get those answers. It seems like anytime you tackle something really big for the first time, you always think it's going to go smoother than it is. I don't know what it is, but
there's no smooth. I mean, this is not for the faint of heart, I will say. And I think what I've really also enjoyed is there are a couple of other de novos in organization as we speak, and they've been reaching out and asking me questions. And so hopefully it's just that continuous cycle of kind of paying it back, but also in a way thanking the groups that did it for us. So.
Yeah, and that's wonderful too. So how long have your doors actually been open?
So we officially opened in December of 2024, December 9th. We had a really very, very soft opening for about the next 6 weeks, where we were just intentional on only onboarding, 10 to 15 really close people so that we could test our systems, make sure money was flowing as it should, and understand kind of what the entire framework, how that was going to operate. But now we've been open for just over a year.
Yeah, that's awesome. So now that your doors have been open, you're a little bit past that year mark. What has surprised you both the most? Maybe in a good way and then maybe in a challenging way?
Yeah. I can go first. In a good way, I think our story really resonates with the community, with the media. Banking is a commodity, and so the ability to have a differentiated, not only product set but also just mindset of how we operate has really, I think, resonated with a number of people. And so to be mission oriented, to be really intentional in who we are looking to support from a philanthropic standpoint, that's been very, very well received. Challenging is I have two kind of prongs that have been really challenging that fortunately are behind us. But one is routing number tables and updating those routing number tables. It is not standard practice that all of these industries and businesses that receive payments update their routing number tables. And so we have had to really one-off find different companies that maybe weren't recognizing a routing number and ask them to update the routing number table. Seems like a relatively easy ask, except for the fact that oftentimes when you're calling, they have no idea what you're talking about. So now you have to explain, what does this even mean? You have to try and find the controller or someone who's in charge of the banking operations for that company. So that's been one. Money moves electronically these days much more than checks. And so that's just has really been kind of a core issue for us. Again, I think we've gotten at least 98% of those issues cleared up. And for us, debit cards was a big issue. We weren't able to launch debit cards until August of 2025. And again, when money moves electronically or via debit cards and people aren't used to writing checks, it's really difficult to onboard those core accounts that are really important for a bank until you have that product available. And so again, if we do it again, there's a couple of things we would do much differently. But again, we're past those issues, so I feel confident in our 2026.
Yeah, and I, the debit card, I'll echo that with Ilaria. Just kind of going into this naively of like, I know how hard it will be, but I certainly had no idea that it would be this hard. But I also didn't imagine just how incredibly impactful this would not only be in our community and for our clientele, but how impactful it would be in my life and the different branches of my life that it touches. And so, just even with like my family that, my daughter coming to me and telling me that she thinks what I'm doing is amazing, and her friends coming up to me and saying, they feel like you're really forging the way for us. We're in college, and then just the sheer magnitude of what that goes with that, right? Of like explaining to them like, hey, I don't have all the answers, but I'm not afraid to try something that's really out of my comfort zone. I'm not afraid to try something that I'm scared to do. And that's really what I want to also resonate with the audience and with other women bankers from all walks of life and all positions, that, you can really do hard things. You can ask really hard questions. You can Google, you can call lifelines, as Ilaria mentioned, but just how really beautiful it is also just to learn and gain some additional skill sets. I didn't imagine that side of the impact that it's had on me. So, and Ilaria, I do have to like hijack the podcast real quick. When you said that First Financial, that was the hardest, is that still the hardest? Or is what we're doing today now the hardest in your career?
It depends probably on what day you ask me. I think from a true stretch standpoint, that was probably still the hardest, but there are days today where it feels hard. Yes. Good question.
Yeah, that is a good question. I kind of wish that I had included that myself. But yeah, I love everything you said so much. And the fact that Michelle, your daughter, and her friends are, recognizing the magnitude of what you're doing. I just think that's so incredible. And you have this mission that's been so well received and so well supported, of serving women and female business owners particularly. So how is that mission translated for you guys into real accounts and to real loans?
Yeah, so we were founded with a clear mission to better serve and support women, particularly through education, access, and mentorship. As a newer institution, we're still building out the formal tracking mechanisms, if you will, that will quantify that impact in terms of loan dollars and accounts. But what I can tell you, though, is that the mission has already influenced how we show up in very tangible ways. So it's changed how we structure conversations. It's influenced how we educate borrowers on cash flow and capital. I know Ilaria has really done a great job of tracking all of that I do. And I think we're at last year, we were over 50 some just one-on-one education classes, not formal classes, but just one-on-one education that I was doing. And we're seeing increased engagement from women business owners who tell us they feel heard and supported in a way that may have been missing before. So the quantitative data will come, and we're certainly committed to measuring that. But culturally and relationally, the impact already is very real.
Yeah. So I'm also interested to know, you kind of enter the market, like you said, Ilaria, banking is very commodified. So you entered the market in kind of a niche position, knowing exactly who you're for and who you want to serve. And do you think that positioning has made growth easier or made it harder?
I'm actually going to take that one, and then Ilaria can add to it. I think it's probably done both. So early on, there was a perception in the market that because we were founded with a mission to better serve women, that we only lent to women. And that's just never been the case, right? So we want to be a really great community bank for all. And our mission informs how we serve, not who we serve, right? So what that positioning has done is it's really opened doors, it's created conversations, it's really differentiated us in a very crowded market, right? So banking is if you will, there's a bank on every corner, and how do you play differently? But at the same time, we have to be intentional in clarifying, our balance sheet is open to strong borrowers against all industries, all demographics. We want to work with all small business owners, all consumers alike. We want to be there for the smallest of impacts to the largest of impacts and what's going on in everyday family life. Is your child going to college? Are you opening up your first savings account? Are you buying your first business or opening up your first business? So I'd say that it hasn't made it harder to grow. It's maybe made it more deliberate. And so we're building with more purpose, not just volume. And the niche positioning just always requires more education. So what it's really done is just give us a clear identity, and in a de novo environment, the clear identity is a growth asset for sure. So
Michelle answered it perfectly. It's a little bit of straddling both sides and making sure that our messaging is always consistent. But I think it's at the end of the day, it's both. I don't think you can just say it's been easier or harder. It's just part of.
Yes, and.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, I love that. So you touched on, the fact that, you serve beyond your, mission of, lending to women and helping women financially. So have you actually seen that mission attract customers beyond your original target audience?
Yeah, and I think that that's been one of the most encouraging outcomes is, while we are focused with a mission to better serve women, again, through education and mentorship, what we found is that our approach just resonates well beyond that initial focus. Business owners, real estate investors, and consumers across the board are really looking for something increasingly rare, which is a real banking relationship. Our mission signals that we're relational, that we take time to educate, that we don't treat lending or deposits as transactional, right? So that appears to all, regardless of gender. So in many ways, the mission has broadened our reach, I think, and it's attracted clients who really value clarity, access, and long-term partnerships. we saw it with PPP, really the marketplace is just after that is really demanding a different banking relationship. And we've just really been able to educate, or we've been able to execute really to that mission is like, we really want to grow something really, really special. So that is really resonating with our community.
Yeah, and I think the piece that I'll add is, I mentioned earlier, the media has really been very friendly to our story and help kind of broadcasting it. And I think when you have the second intentionally created bank in the country today, out of 4,300 to be women owned, it's really we're really in a unique space, and that has definitely attracted people outside of our original target, really being Columbus, Ohio, and kind of Ohio. We have depositors from all over the country, and I think it's because our story resonates. People want to place their money where it feels good for them, and our goal is to make them really feel good about where they're doing their banking.
Yeah, I love what you said about that. And, when I engage with women in banking content and spaces, there's this question that comes out that I kind of have a love-hate relationship, right? And it's, what are the advantages of, having more women in leadership, having more women in banking? And I've asked that question, but at the same time, we don't ask it of men, right? So there is that. But I also think, not to overgeneralize, but I do think as women, we're socialized to be a little bit more relational, and that can lend itself to some really great outcomes, as you've said, especially at a time when people are looking for more from their banking relationships. So I love that you're showing up in that way. Calling all women in community banking. Join us on Friday, April 24th at Eastern Kentucky University for Ladies Link. This event will be a day of leadership lessons, camaraderie, and fun that you won't want to miss. And we'll end the day with a women in banking panel full of faces you may recognize. Register now at the link in the show notes. And Ilaria, I don't recall when we did this podcast the first time, if you had done any hiring or built a team before opening the doors. But obviously your team has grown quite a bit since then. So what have you learned about hiring and building a team from scratch?
Yeah. Might be one of my favorite questions. And really one of my favorite parts about building this bank is that we've been able to be really intentional about who we are hiring, and very specific in who we are targeting. I've had the luxury of being able to look back into my past of people that I had the opportunity to work with that were awesome, and intentionally reach out to them and say, hey, this is something that we're building. I'd like for you to be a part of it, because what we experienced together before, and I know your work ethic, I know your passion, I know your sense of urgency, I know all of those pieces. I know that that's something that we can use here. And then even for the people that we didn't know, to be able to say, we're doing something really special here in Columbus. How many bankers get to say that they're a part of a startup bank? I mean, there's 10 to 12 that may come online every year. So really, really limited number. And so to say, I know Michelle received, she'll tell the story, but when Lisa reached out to her and said, hey, I'd like to talk to you about possibly being our chief lending officer, Michelle was kind of taken aback and was like, did I just hear potentially an offer on my dream job? And so I think we really have a unique position to be able to offer something special. It also takes I think what I've always known, I was always really good in sales, but I wasn't as good in operations. So when I was running branches, I knew I needed some strong operational people in my branch. Otherwise, the branch was going to go haywire. And so it's no different. It's, we have different people with different areas of expertise, and it's making sure that we have the right areas of expertise and all of the areas of expertise covered. And that means that we're all different, and that we've come from different backgrounds, that we have different experiences, and that we're able to share those experiences as our strengths and be able to kind of build collectively together.
Yeah, that had to be such a wonderful experience to just be able to, pull the best that you've ever worked with out of, every area and just have them to build this dream team, basically.
That's what I was going to say. It's like you get to build your dream team, which, I mean, that's odd from a blank slate. I mean, it's just like when banks talk about it's so hard to change technology because they have all of this legacy technology, and to upgrade it would cost a lot of money. It's the same thing with your teams. I mean, when your teams have already grown, sometimes you're stuck. And so we were able to build really just a great team where at the end of the day, we're all here championing and working hard for Fortuna's success. But it's so much more about the person, their life, and how are we making their lives better by being a part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And, to that point, obviously your bank is very mission driven. So, you're thinking about things past the bottom line a lot of the time. So what does success look like for Fortuna Bank beyond just its financial performance?
I don't know. I think 2026 is really a lot about financial performance, but I will say that we are intentional in ensuring that we're staying true to our mission from a financial education, from a mentorship and a networking opportunity for female entrepreneurs, and for access to capital. So it's those are items that we all track, that we track internally to make sure that we are here doing what we said we would do in a responsible way while keeping growth and profitability really at the forefront of our target. Because we can't grow and we don't become profitable, we can't be successful and do the things that we really want to do for the greater community to ensure that we're supporting our mission.
Yeah, that's completely valid. That makes sense. You can't have success beyond financial performance without financial performance, it seems like. But you've kind of alluded to, throughout our conversation, the response from other people, not just in your target area of Columbus, but nationally. I mean, I think it was one of NPR's podcasts had you on, right?
Mm-hmm. We were
Yeah. So just tell me a little bit more about how the community responded once you were actually open.
Yeah. So really, it's been somewhat overwhelming in all the best ways. Like the community response just really has exceeded our expectations. From the beginning, we had strong encouragement from local leaders and media. But once we officially opened, the engagement became very tangible. So we hosted one of the largest attended open houses in Columbus for a de novo, where there were over 250 people, and our bank spilling in our bank, outside of the bank. I mean, it was really, I'm still speechless to even describe like that day. Of course, NPR was here that day, and she put the camera or a microphone in my face. She's like, "How do you feel?" I'm like, "It's like Christmas Day when you're a child. Like you wake up and Santa Claus is here and here are all your presents, right?" Like that's really what that day felt like for me anyway. And so I also knew that day, that told me something really important, that people were really ready and the community's really ready for a different kind of banking conversation and different banking engagement, right? And we just saw business owners, community leaders, our families, our friends, investors showing up, not just out of curiosity, but really because they wanted to be some part of something, that building something very mission driven in our city. And the early support really translated into meaningful relationships and account growth. I mean, like Ilaria said earlier, financial performance is also very key. And so, those groups of individuals have continued to support us and share our mission and share our story and be referral partners and all the things. So
I love that. It like Christmas Day. I mean, yeah. And I know it was the threshold dollar amount to invest with you guys was actually a little bit lower, right? Because you wanted to be able to invite in voices from more socioeconomic backgrounds at the table. I mean, do I recall that right?
Yep, that was spot on. It was really important to us. We know that typically when a de novo bank launches, the entry point to become a shareholder is somewhere between $50,000 to $100,000, and we knew we wanted to be majority women owned. We knew women don't often see private equity investment opportunities, so we didn't want. So 50,000 to 100,000 would sound pretty intimidating if this is your first foray into a private equity investment opportunity, and so we dropped it to 10,000. To become a shareholder. For that reason, we also wanted a large number of brand ambassadors and, day one clients advocating for us. And so we have 350 shareholders, 75% of which are women, who are all championing for our success. And that's really been very, very exciting. And that's also the group. We talk a lot at Fortuna Bank on building a community more than just a bank, and building a network of resources that supports these female entrepreneurs, consumers, in that beyond just the day-to-day transactions or even kind of planning of your financial growth or journey, but it's how do I grow my business? How do I, who can I utilize as a mentor? And so our shareholders and now our clients and stakeholders are really integral in helping kind of that build out that support system where we can connect people together beyond just, again, the bank.
That's wonderful. And it sounds like that's, there are pieces of that even existing banks with existing frameworks could look at implementing and kind of changing up how they do things to better serve the mission of community banking as a whole. So I love that you're setting that example.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have one last question for you guys before I let you go. If I have you back I've written 2 in my notes, but I realized today it's actually been, I think, 3 years since I had you on the podcast. Wow. That doesn't feel real either. But if we have you back in 3 years, what do you hope you'll be able to say?
I hope we can say we are nicely profitable. We are no longer under the de novo status by our regulators. We are continuing to make an impact in our mission in connecting female entrepreneurs, female consumers, and just the overall, community here, banking community, with resources and opportunities, and feeling like there's part of something bigger than what we are. I think those are probably and that the team working here still loves what they're doing. That's probably key. I don't know, Michelle, if you have anything else.
Oh, gosh. So yes, all those things. I mean, I had financial performance top of mind, no longer being a de novo. But it's what's really cool about the de novo and the growth is, each time I'm in a meeting, like even this morning, being in a team meeting and we're ever evolving and bringing on new platforms or finding new ways to do things. And so every time I'm in a meeting, I'm like, we come up with something new and a new idea. And we're like, okay, parking lot that. So when we're on the other side of this, we can give energy into this, or, okay, parking lot that. So we have like this whole list of parking lots ideas of things that we want to do. So that's the cool thing is like, even in 3 years, there's a whole parking lot of ideas that we want to find a way to execute on. I would like to really, I would like to show up differently in my industry. And so for me, that means my long-term goal as a CLO is to start to create platforms specifically for CLOs. So like if somebody, there are forums kind of all over the place that are really, really great and have great content. But when you're in a senior commercial lending forum versus a CLO forum, because you are doing 2 different things, there's different support that a CLO needs and different information. And so I'd like to create a community, and maybe even someday it's a forum, or if it's a quarterly meeting or something around across the United States of CLOs together that we can come together and curate different ideas and talk about what's happening in the market and just kind of lean on each other. And then separate of that, I don't know what this looks like, but doing something else to help advance women, and my role and other roles, getting women to understand that they can say yes to hard things and that they don't have to know the answers, right? So that was my biggest paralyzing fear, is I don't know how to be a CLO. Well, anyone that steps into an executive position doesn't know how to do it till you get there. And so really kind of erasing that out of my mind and helping erase that out of others' mind is to really step into a position that you're scared to do, just because you know that you really want to do it and you know that you can find the answers and you can have a great team to work behind you. And if you have those pillars around you, then you can really make it happen. So
I love that. Those are great ideas, and I really hope that all of them come to fruition for you guys. But thank you guys both so much for your time. Thank you for the work that you're doing in community banking and for women and for women business owners. And I hope I do get to have you back in 3 years. And Michelle, I look forward to having you come speak at our Ladies Link conference. Thank you both again so much.
I'm super excited to be
Madison.
there. Thanks for inviting us, Madison.
Thank you for listening to the Correspondent Podcast from Independent Correspondent Bankers Bank. We hope you've heard something that you can take back to your community bank. Be sure to follow us wherever you get your podcasts. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, leave us a rating and review, or on Spotify, turn on the notification bell so you never miss an upload. See you next time, community bankers.